Hey, don't.
Okay.
I know I said the WrestleMania 2 review was coming next, but I just tried to sit through it and I can't. It will come eventually. She won't be involved. We've decided that a certain WrestleManias aren't quite suited to her needs because she hates wrestling. In terms of the wrestling sense, so there are going to be some WrestleManias that are more entertainment based that she'll be watching and she'll be reviewing with me. Look at her! Look at her!
What?
You just sort of sat there all confused and you've got that face.
Aren't we
Anyway,
spoiled?
certain WrestleManias that she will be reviewing with me, certain WrestleManias she won't. And we're going to do, I've done a random drawing and we're doing them in a random order. So, the first WrestleMania that came out was WrestleMania 14. So, I guess we're reviewing that first. Just finished watching the show. Opening match you had was the 15-team Battle Royal, which really, I think these Battle Royals in general are just clusterfucks. I mean, when all, like, they had Legion of Doom were in the ring because they were a mystery team, they came in last, and then all of a sudden all of the other teams jumped in and she literally said, "What the fuck?" It's just, they were just having that amount of teams in one match, and the stipulation that if one guy got eliminated from the team, that the other guy was eliminated too, it just didn't really make any sense. Why would you have tag teams and then have only one guy eliminated? Why would you send in everybody and then if one's eliminated, so is the other, so you can be eliminated without being eliminated? Right. But eventually, after it got down to the final four, the match cleaned up a bit, and Legion of Doom went over. It was a nice way to open the show. Legion of Doom coming back and winning the match, and it was good to see LO. It would have been good to see LOD back at the time, I'm assuming. So then you had the light heavyweight title match between Taka Michinoku and Mr. Aguila. I'm so used to calling him Mr. Aguila or S.A. Rios. Aguila, who was actually wearing a mask at the time. He looked a bit like Liger, but that's either here nor there.
He was cool.
Yeah, she quite liked that match. That was probably her second favourite match of the night. Well, I say night, it's the day, but that's neither here. See, confused face.
No, I was thinking it was my first.
We'll come back to it. We'll come to that later,
okay.
won't we? Obviously.
I don't know myself.
But that match was for what it was at the time, and obviously at the time the light heavyweights were only just starting to come into the WWE or WWF, whatever we call it. And this was a very good advertisement for the light heavyweights, for the luchadors, for the high flying, because it was pretty much it was a spot there for what was happening at the time. Obviously, maybe not so much now, but just a lot of high flying moves, and Taka retained the title in what was another. It was probably, yeah, it was a solid match. I say probably way too much. I'm going to stop saying probably. Then you had Triple H versus Owen Hart for the European title, and I can't watch Triple H matches. I can't rate Triple H matches. I was sat here and I tried so hard to watch it. I tried so hard, but I couldn't do it. So I just gave it 3 stars. I mean, she couldn't watch it either, but that's because she doesn't like wrestling. It was Owen Hart versus Triple H, so it was going to be a wrestling match. The finish was alright. According to her it was. I didn't really watch it. What happened? You know, the one you thought looked like a man. China.
Oh, should I threw something in the man's face?
In Owen Hart's face. She threw... no. In Slaughter's face. She threw... Was it flour?
I don't know.
It was white.
I was like, what was that?
I think she threw flour in... because she was handcuffed to... China was handcuffed to Sergeant Slaughter, so that she didn't interfere. So Slaughter was the commissioner at the time in WWE, and she threw I think it was flour or something. It might have been washing up liquid. Washing up powder.
Oh yeah.
Could have been that, but I'd assume it was flour. She threw it in his eyes, hit Owen Hart with a low blow. Triple H got pedigree, 1, 2, 3. Triple H retains I just give it 3 stars because it looked like a fair enough technical match. I just can't rate Triple H matches. And Owen Hart was in it, so then you had the artist formerly known as Goldust and Luna against Marvelous Marc, Mero, and Sable. This match, in my opinion, because the feud carried on afterwards, if I remember correctly, and it was Sable's first ever in-ring competition. This match had no place on the WrestleMania card. I mean, for what it was passable. The match wasn't exactly... Obviously, going into the match, you know it's not going to be the best wrestling match. Because Sable and Luna are at the centre of the match. Because they were in the pre-match video, it was all about Sable and Luna. Luna's a fucking nutter, and Sable's a fucking nutter. So you've just got 2 of the craziest women in the history of WWE just want to beat the shit out of each other. And it's sad, really, because Mero versus Goldust would have been a nice match to have. And you could have had Sable and Luna sort of in the corner, and then have had them had a sort of scuffle during the match or post-match or whatever. But you had to centre the match around them, and it kind of took away from Goldust and Mero, because I think it was Mero's WrestleMania debut, and it might have even been Goldust. Actually, no, it was Goldust's WrestleMania debut. It was Mero's WrestleMania debut, I think. I'm probably wrong on that one, actually, but I will. But it just took a lot away from them, and they're not bad workers. But Sable was so over at the time. She was so over, so popular with the fans, and she's hot as fuck. She really is, isn't she? Yeah, she was so hot. But
She has a nice bra as well.
You had it from the hot girl. Anyway, before we get off the beaten track, it was an alright. It was alright for what it was. Sable got popped, so yeah. This I thought was your favourite match. The Rock, Shamrock. The best match of the night. You said
Yeah.
Yeah. Rock versus Ken Shamrock for the Intercontinental title. The Rock comes in as defending champion. It did not go on for very long, maybe 3 minutes, but the action you actually saw in the ring was very, very, very good. It was probably, outside the main event, for me, it was my favourite match of the show. I love The Rock, and The Rock was really the highlight of the whole show. He had a pre-tape backstage segment with, I don't know, Jennifer Blake, or was it Jennifer somebody. I have no idea who. It wasn't Jennifer Blake. Jennifer Blake's the wrestler. Jennifer something, and there was a backstage interview where like The Rock was being The Rock. I don't like the term leader. I prefer the term ruler. And if all the people below me knew their place and shut their damn mouth and didn't step out of line, we'd be cool. And as far as the people living on the streets, as long as they keep their dirty cardboard boxes off The Rock's nicely mown lawn, everything's okay. It's The Rock. A WrestleMania segment with The Rock is always going to be good. Even at Entertainer. But this match, whilst it didn't last long, Shamrock won. But then he didn't win because he went crazy. He did what Shamrock does, and Shamrock has always done since he stepped into the WWE. He just went crazy, I'm mad. That was Shamrock. That was what Shamrock was. He was
like him.
Yeah, he's not exactly the most appealing of guys. He's just the character being so crazy. I mean, it would have been appealing to men at the time, not women, obviously. But he's just a badass, and effectively he came in and just beat the shit out of whoever he had a match with, and win or lose, he'd still get over. So that was a good match. Then you had the tag team title match. Now the stipulation was so stupid. This is such a Russo stipulation. You had a dumpster match. A dumpster match. Really? 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 This is why Vince Russo is considered to be one of the most hated people in the wrestling industry because he comes up with these stupid gimmicks. I mean, what the fuck is a dumpster match? You gotta throw them in the dumpster and then close the lid to win. That sounds like a casket. Anyway, completely off train of thought. It was a good enough tag team match. Chainsaw Charlie and Cactus Jack. Chainsaw Charlie being Terry Funky, against New Age Outlaws. And the New Age Outlaws are such an underrated tag team. In the history of the tag team division, whenever you talk about the great tag teams, you talk about the Edge and Christian, you talk about the Hardys, you talk about the Dudleys. New Age Outlaws carried the tag team division for a long time. They had great matches with everybody they faced. They were over, whether that was in a good way or a bad way. They were involved with DX, and I really enjoyed watching the New Age Outlaws from what I've seen. And they're a good tag team. They're solid workers. They've worked with other people, so it's not fluke. But putting them together was a very good idea, and they got people over. They got themselves over, and they had good matches, and they had good chemistry with the teams they faced. So New Age Outlaws were a very good tag team. But in the end, it was Charlie and Terry Funk and Mick Foley, Cactus Jack, who went over, won the tag team titles. Yeah. It was a bit confusing, really, because they broke a dumpster. And I realised that they had the lid shut, and they went Billy Gunn and was it Chainsaw Charlie or was it Cactus Jack? I think it was Cactus Jack. They went through the lids, so they broke the dumpster. So how are you going to close the lids on the dumpster? So you pretty much knew that was either a botch, or they were supposed to go backstage. But yeah, Charlie and Cactus went over. Then you had Undertaker and Kane in their first ever match. Now, before the match, Pete Rose came out. I just know him as a baseball player, and I know him as the guy that got inducted into the Hall of Fame at Wrestlemania 20 and got lots of boos for it because people really, really didn't seem to like him, or he is an idiot, or he's a moron, or he's ginger. Was he ginger? I swear he was a bit ginger. I hate him anyway. He's a bit gingery though. It's like Robert Pattinson sort of ginger.
He's not ginger.
But he is gingery. I call him a ginger. I'm not colourblind. I don't call you ginger.
You did.
Anyway. When did I ever call you? Completely off topic. Undertaker and Kane had a match, and the Undertaker won after 3 tombstones, and then Kane gave him a tombstone onto a chair, and that led to an Inferno match, and then Paul Bearer was being a lunatic, and yes! But it was the first match, and to be honest, it was probably their best. It went on way too long. 20 minutes. You've got a 7-footer and a 7-footer, and you put them in the ring for 20 minutes, it's not going to work. Give them 15, give them 10, don't give them 20. 20 minutes is too long. 20 minutes is too long. Then you had the main event, which was centered around neither of the competitors. It was centered around the enforcer, Mike Tyson. Now, Mike Tyson was a big draw at the time. He was a big name. Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson can draw being Mike Tyson. And I think he helped add something to the match. But the match itself, I don't think it needed Mike Tyson. I think it kind of added maybe a final sort of piece to the puzzle to have Mike Tyson there. Complete the whole thing. But he didn't need to be there, not in my opinion. And I think maybe it would have been better for the competitors if he wasn't, at least at the time. I mean, in the long term, with hindsight, you can look back and say, well, it didn't really matter that he was there because it didn't take anything away from the match. It was Shawn Michaels' last match. It was Stone Cold winning the title. And this title change, I think, is the second biggest title change in WWE history. If this doesn't happen, the Attitude Era doesn't happen. And the Attitude Era was the biggest boom period in wrestling. Biggest money-making period in wrestling. It pushed the WWE ahead of WCW, and WCW then put themselves out of business. So, if that doesn't happen, WWE doesn't become the marketing giant it is today. Maybe that's a good thing. Potatoes. Austin wins the title over Michaels. Michaels goes, and that's WrestleMania for you. All round, I like the show. There's a nice throng of good, solid matches throughout. She's looking at herself in the camera because she's a vain cunt.
I know, my hair has gone weird.
Okay, you can stay offline. You can stay offline.
No, not even that.
You want? See, she wants to look at herself
I
on camera
don't,
again.
I'm looking at you.
Okay, whatever.
I'm coming closer.
She's vain. She's vain. She's so vain.
I'm not.
She's so vain.
I'm not.
That was my WrestleMania 14 review, and I know it's all over the place, but I got the review out. I told you what I thought of the matches. I told you what I thought of the show, and I would suggest watching it. As a wrestling fan, this is one of the better WrestleManias. It's one of a very, very good show. Whilst a lot of people saying it's the best, I do not agree with. All around, it was a good show. Your final thoughts?
I lost interest towards the end.
Towards the end, after what? What was the last thing you remember?
The Rock.
So if you're...
Oh wait, no, the bins. The
dumpsters, yeah. So there you go. If you're getting your female friends to watch it, they will lose interest after the dumpster match. So maybe skip past the dumpster match because it's not that great. Peace!